Welcome to Off-Script Leadership, where we talk about leading in the real world. No fluff, no theory, just real leadership from people who show up when it counts. This isn't about your title or your rank. Today's episode sets the foundation for everything that follows, because real leadership starts with a decision, not a promotion, not a position, a decision. Let's get into it. All right, let's explain the moment that you knew you were leading. Mystal, let's start with you.
Okay. I'm not going to go with like one specific moment. If you guys do that, awesome. But for me, I just remember very, very vividly whenever I decided that leadership was going to be my path. Up until I broke Tony in, I actually I was very comfortable just being the senior, like just being the person that guys could come to if they had a question, and knowing that like I wasn't going to talk about them or tell anyone that they'd asked me or anything. I was very comfortable with that, right? But then breaking Tony in changed that for me. I mentioned in the last episode feeling responsible, and being a field training officer is a leadership role, but even more than that, like I felt responsible for ensuring that he came up in an environment that was good enough for him, right? It became more than just me. So like for me, I could, deal with whatever. I could, be fine with whoever was my supervisor or above. Like it didn't matter, because I was still going to do the right thing, and I was still going to be who I am and work hard. But then when Tony came along, it was like, that's not good enough anymore, right? Like, what if I'm not here as his partner to make sure everything's okay? Or what if he goes to a different troop and I never stepped up to make a difference, right? And so at that point, I realized that, I don't know, it wasn't about a title. It was just about the choice to do more because it was required of me, right? It became about doing more because I cared in a different way after that. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you didn't wait for somebody to assign you a title?
Absolutely
You're
not.
the supervisor?
Absolutely not. And I think a lot of people fall into the mindset of you're not a leader unless you have a title. A title doesn't mean anything, right? Leadership, like there are natural born leaders, and then there are people who have to work at it, but have a heart for it. For me, it was the decision. I made the decision that I had to do more because I had other people who relied on me, right? Like I could lead in my position as an FTO, but then I knew from that moment on, like anyone that I broke in from there, they were going to come to me for solutions to their problems. And for me to not be worried about anything but myself was just not going to be okay anymore, right? And so at that point was when I realized like I have to do my part in my part of the world.
I like it. Tony?
Well, you're welcome.
Yes. I tell him that all the time. I tell him that I am only the leader I am because of him.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So you were assigned to lead me, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like an appointed thing that you kind of grew into. But during that first phase, right, or maybe second phase of training, how many other FTOs would contact you for questions?
No.
Hey, how do we address this? How do we address that?
Yeah.
So that's when you know you're leading, when your peers come to you for help, right?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to go to her. She's my trainer. I'm supposed to go to her. But when other trainers are going to her, everyone else picks up on that too. So.
Yeah. But even then, like, I will always give Tony the credit. Like, I am only any bit of what I am because I cared enough about you.
And I'm humble enough to take all that credit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go. When did you know you were you were leading?
Oh man, when it actually, so let's start back. So like in high school, growing up in athletics, you kind of grow into a leadership role when, you kind of age out, right? It's kind of weird. Like in sports, you age out, like by the time you're a junior or a senior, you're supposed to be the leader, right? Because everyone's younger than you. You're just kind of looking up to them. And then I left high school and went to college in a leadership program. And then you're thrown into that position. So like you are the leader, but it's still not the same, right? So you're there because of a title or position. And then when I went into the military and basic training, everyone started coming to me because I had experience. I kind of knew what I was doing. And that was kind of the same thing. Like I was the senior in the locker room. I've been here, I've done this type thing. I'm just helping people out. But when I realized that I was actually leading was probably in Special Forces selection. So here I am, little Tony, and I have like senior dudes from Ranger Regiment coming to me for ideas and help. And then that's eye-opening because you don't wear any rank there. There's no, assignments. You're just doing your best. And when you get people with a lot more experience than you coming to you for help, like that's when like you're doing something.
Yeah, and kind of like we talked about with Mystal, that title doesn't matter.
Right.
Those senior guys, whether they had a better rank or higher rank than you,
Exactly.
they came down to you and just asked, what would you do?
Yeah,
Help me.
A great self-assessment you can do on yourself, like if you're a manager or a team leader and whatever title you have, if you got rid of that title or your assignment, would people still come to you with problems? Would people still follow you? If I'll use the department that we worked with, for example, it's a very independent work field. You don't have to go to a supervisor unless you have like a scheduling issue or something major like that only your supervisor can handle. But I would say the majority of people that are working the road or working that job wouldn't call their supervisor for help. Because supervisor probably not the best resource for that. They might even reach out to a different department, different agency, someone that they can trust and know has credibility instead of just a title of authority.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, leadership isn't a title, it's influence.
Yeah. So if you didn't have that, would people still follow you?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
All right, Matt, when do you know you were leaving? Leaving.
Leaving?
He's like, now?
Now.
No.
Apparently, yeah. Bye, guys. When I was leading, we could start back kind of how Tony did. Growing up, my parents would always say, since I'm the oldest, lead by example. Your brothers are always looking up to you.
Oh, yeah.
What you do, they follow. So if I'm doing something dumb and stupid, they're going to think that it's okay and do something dumb and stupid. And I probably did. I took it for granted listening to that. But also in a way, I realized as I was getting older and older into high school, college, that, okay, well, sorry to my brothers listening. You did follow a lot of the stuff that I did or didn't do. And to me, going into college, and then I realized, hey, now you're in this work environment. I was working as a police officer and going into college, taking college classes for my degree, that you could totally tell that I knew I had the experience in what I was talking about in the field, and they were just learning it, and they were really keying in on the fact that I'm already working it and doing it, going back to college, and that they wanted to learn from not just the instructor, but somebody actually out in the field doing it. And then moving on from college, transferring departments down into Oklahoma, I think it really stuck out when I was a leader that I was in a mentorship program from my current supervisor, and she put on the roles of me to answer the calls, be the person to rely on when she's not around, and then having those phone calls when I'm working or not working, picking up, I don't want to say the slack, but
No. When I was gone on vacation, you did. Like, that's a great example. Like, I was out of the country on vacation, and so with my team, I very much like leave Matt in charge. And I even text that, I'm like, all right, boys, like Matt's in charge while I'm gone. So if you need help with the stop or whatever, holler at Matt. And obviously, like if it needed to be escalated to a supervisor, it would. But I definitely put that on you. And you did pick up the slack while I was gone, and I couldn't do that. But it was kind of funny whenever I got back and you were like, oh my gosh, your phone rings all the time. Like, yep.
Yep. So I think that's when it really dawned on me that I'm that senior leader now in that
Absolutely.
in that role when you were gone, and I was taking the phone calls, and even now, they don't necessarily call you first; they'll call me.
Yep.
And so I think that's kind of where I'm at to the point on that.
That's true, like real life leadership. Man.
It is,
and I've seen that growth in you just the past year and a half.
I agree.
Like, it's been pretty wild to watch. It's pretty cool.
It is, isn't it? So let's move on to the next part. And
well, let's talk about this a little more. You seem
yeah,
Okay.
he wants
All
to
right.
move on. I want to say this too. Like, you guys are talking about, like growing up and being the oldest, and I had that too. But just hearing you talk about it, like you were put in those roles, but like when you chose to step in and be a leader, like doing our mentorship program, you chose that. And so just to see the growth in you from you embracing it, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing whenever, you're the oldest of, I have 3 other siblings, and your parents like, hey, you're the oldest, you're in charge, you need to lead by example, versus when you start caring enough about something that you're like, you know what, no, I'm choosing this because I want this and I want to be a key part of this team and better others. So just getting to watch that in you, like, is rewarding. Like, honestly, like, I would tell anybody who asks, the only thing I ever wanted in my career was to have little proteges running around everywhere, right? To like have little me's doing all the things. And so you guys have like made my career dreams come true. Like, I literally could, like, tomorrow, if I had to be done tomorrow, my career has been made because you guys are awesome, and you take the best, I hope, the best parts of me and use it. And watching you succeed, taking ownership, has been awesome.
Yeah. I know this sounds weird, but I've enjoyed watching the struggle. They come to you with crap that you probably don't know, and now you're like, okay, I have to figure this out now. And then, 2 weeks later, now you're an expert in that. Yep. And now your skill level just bumped up. Yep. And it's even interesting to see the last time we went to the range together, just how the other guys like interact with you.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It is. And, yeah, I mean.
It's fun. It's a lot better on my side because I'm not active in that anymore. I can just kind of hang back and watch
Which, not to let you off the hook easy, Tony, you very much filled that role for years. Like,
but now I can talk crap about it.
Well, you got voluntold to break my little brother in because you're the only guy I trusted to do it. So
hardest assignment in the state, probably. Not because of you, like.
But because of me.
Yeah. So, okay.
Anyway,
I'll take it.
I like the growth I'm seeing.
So where does leadership start? Leadership starts with you. Leadership is influence. I mean, that's it.
It is. You have to, for me, it was making the conscious decision that I wanted more for the people I cared about, right? Yeah. And that goes across like careers, personal life, friendships, whatever, like wanting more and being willing to do what it takes to do that. So like, what does that look like? Like, what does it look like when you're stepping up and you're leading? Like, it looks like standing up when no one else will.
Yeah.
It looks like owning your mistakes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right? Like, owning it and not avoiding them. Like, because we see plenty of that, right? Or justification when it doesn't matter.
That's a thing. Like, someone screws up and then they try to justify it. Right. Oh man, if you screw up, you screw up. Let's go ahead and highlight that.
Right.
So no one else has to screw up in the same way.
Right.
Like, if you could do that, that's most of the battle.
And it also looks like protecting standards when other people want shortcuts. Like, that's a main one for me. And and it's a little bit personal for me because I'm not a shortcut person. If anyone has ever worked with me knows that I do not take shortcuts, and I do not respect shortcuts, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't always the most popular thing. Like I've sometimes been called over the top or, OCD, which are probably true.
Those
But
would be the nicest things I've ever heard you called.
true. Yeah, but at the end of the day, like I would rather be that than take shortcuts and not be able to set the example. And I would hope that people who have worked with me and trained with me have all benefited from not taking the shortcut. Like there's so many times I'll have guys call them like, that you were right, that's why we do that, this happened to someone else, or this, I saw this happen to another guy, and that in everyday life too. Like I'll just talk about marriage, man. Like if you aren't giving 100% to your relationship, you can't expect a shortcut to get what you want when you want it, right?
Right.
It's not how life works. So
you're about to get a real dose of that when the baby gets here.
Yeah,
right. You thought you were trying to lead by example for your little brothers.
dude,
that's still your dad's problem, right? But now, like that kid is yours, dude. whatever kind of attitude they bring to the world, like that kid has your name on it, man.
Yeah,
so, that's tough.
And it happens quicker than you think.
Yeah,
like, it really does. Like the other day, if you know me, you know how I feel about our dog. But he was up on the furniture, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like we have a strict no dogs on the furniture, and so I was like, no, go to your crate, and put him in his crate. And Jess got home, and she's like, oh, why is Soup in his crate? And I was like, no, he needs to be in his crate. He got on the furniture. And she's soft, so she's like gonna let him out. And Keaton goes over there, and he's like standing by the crate, and he's like, no, he needs to be in. Gave her like the point even. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that me? Like what? And he's like, no, he needs to be in the crate. He was on the furniture, like telling her like, no, she couldn't. And I was like, golly, it's just like a huge wake up call, because I'm like, even down to the point, like
he's watching you.
He is, and like the way he like will hold his hands and stuff sometimes, and I'm like, he's like mirroring everything. I'm like, wow, like it definitely makes you want to do better.
So let me hit you with a few of our leadership truths. These are simple, but they'll punch you in the chest if you let them. You don't need a rank to lead. You need responsibility. If you're waiting to be empowered, you're already giving your power away. Leadership happens in the small, unnoticed moments, not the big ones. People don't follow charisma. They follow consistency. If your presence raises the standard in the room, you're already leading.
Yeah, so to piggyback on those truths that you outlined, I tell my guys when we're training or at work that they should want to be, and if they buy in, they will be the most trained up guy in the room. And you can feel a difference when you walk in after you've been training in your craft versus before. And I think each one of you have felt it. Like you, whenever you step up and you decide, hey, this is a path I'm going to take. Any room you go into, like one, you should never be intimidated anyway. Like but I can see where some, can kind of feel intimidated. But when you're honing your craft and you have confidence, and for me personally, my confidence is in Christ. So I can go into any room and talk to anybody because we're people, right? Yeah. But that's been the main thing. Like you'll visibly be able to see the way people look at you. One, like it'll be obvious, and then two, you'll feel it. Like there's no take away the insecurities. Like you've prepared for it. You deserve to be there, right?
Yeah, if you train properly.
Yes, that's key.
Speaking of insecurities, like that's the best way. Like you have to target your insecurities when you're training. If you're good at shooting, don't spend all your training time shooting. Yep. Okay, you have to maintain, but don't try to get better at something you're already better at, right? So pull back the insecurities, go to your training session like that. Like if I might as well be standing here with my when you go to training, just expose your insecurities and target those. Like don't worry about what anyone else thinks about you, because that's stupid anyway.
Well, that, and you're selling yourself short. Like if you're so worried about what other people think about you that you can't better yourself, that's the first thing that you need to address, right? Because I guarantee you, everyone there is thinking about themselves. Like, we give too much credit to that. Like, yeah, people like to run their mouths or whatever. Let them. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. In leadership, you're going to have to get used to letting it roll off your back, like discerning what is legitimate and what's noise. And that'll come in other chapters. But the main thing is just like, believe it or not, people are more self-absorbed than they ever will be about you. And if you let that hold you back and you don't lean into the insecurities you have or performance issues you have, then you're never gonna better yourself. And that goes for home too. Like, realizing like, hey, maybe I am the problem, and maybe I need to seek some therapy or have honest conversations with my partner or whatever. For me, it's like, I want to make sure I give my child a foundation that's healthy. And we all, I'm sure parents have done something to put us all in therapy, right? and I mean, my kid's got 2 moms, so he's already automatically going to therapy, So I'm just trying to like make that be like the main issue for him.
Hopefully that's the main one.
Just kidding, But you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm glad you brought that up a little bit of criticism. So you need to be able to take criticism as a leader so you can grow from it, right? If someone's scared to tell you did something wrong, that's not being a leader. You need to be able to open up your doors to, hey, if I need to do something better, come tell me, what did I do wrong? What do you think I could do better? Accept that.
Yeah.
In everyday life, not just as, like you said, as at work, but at home.
Yes, exactly. And I would even say, like, it's one thing to say that you have an open door and people can come in and tell you, if they have an issue or a problem or whatever. It's one thing to say that, and it's another to actually embody it, right? And so I will say, like, you both know, y'all have been on my team since I started, really. And that is the main thing for me. Like, I want you to feel comfortable, to come tell me, ways I can improve. I hope I do a good job of that, but it also very much is dependent on how I present myself and how I open myself to those criticisms, right? And one, be careful who you're soliciting feedback from, right? That's the number one thing. Don't just go out and solicit feedback from anyone and everybody in whatever, in your career or who you work with. Whatever. Make sure that you are picking people who want to help you better yourself and build you up. Because if you're picking people who, one, aren't in a position where they can really give you any kind of knowledge in what you're seeking or any kind of feedback that would be relevant, then it's just noise. If it's someone who doesn't really care to see you build yourself up or better yourself, then that's just noise, right? You need to find people who have the skills that you are wanting to develop and people who truly care to give you feedback that will better your life. So be very careful of that. Like I tell you guys and I tell my brother, like, don't call 1 million cops and ask them questions and expect to find them all give you the same answer. You need to start discerning who you want to mentor you, because that is extremely important, and it shifts your career and it sets it on the path that you hopefully want to take, because mentorship is so important. For me, I have mentors in every part of my life, and I am very intentional about picking them because of that.
Yeah. And if you're in a position where you are criticized with positive intent, all right? Like, don't just tell someone they suck. Give them some sort of solution. Hey, you suck at this. Why don't you try that? Or if you're just like, if you're in a training environment where you happen to be the instructor and someone sucks at something, we'll say shooting, and they can't hit the target, and you don't fix them, that's because you suck. All right? Yes. So,
yes.
If you're in that situation where you can't do anything else but make fun of someone, find a different job. All right? It's not.
Right.
I mean, there's hiring signs all over this town.
Well, even then, that's not something you want to pass on to your children.
Right.
Or nothing that you would want in your personal life. So don't do that to other people. But, I can't say enough for the having an open mind to where you don't know everything, right?
Right.
And and finding the right sources, just finding the right sources, because there's plenty of people who maybe don't want to see someone better themselves, because then they might take an opportunity that they're looking for or whatever. Just find discernment and find the people who are your people and that truly care and go that route. And that's the ones that you want the input from anyway. The ones that you're working closely with, the ones that know you and can help you better yourself for them. Like for me, whenever I ask for feedback, our team solicits feedback from each other regularly. We do it like every time we train. We try to train quarterly, and then we have beginning of the year, end of the year stuff. And I'm constantly soliciting feedback from my guys because it matters to me. It matters to me because if I can't communicate effectively or lead effectively, then it affects their careers negatively, right? So it's more about yourself. It's more than about yourself. It's about your team and where you want to go with it.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, we're going to give you 2 challenges for this week. The first one, if you have that title, that rank of being the supervisor, manager, leader, and if you are in that role currently but don't have that rank, the challenge for you is going to be, do you have that open door policy? Can you accept the criticism? Can you build off of what others think that you could do better, what you're doing wrong? If not, try it. The second challenge, find a situation this week, next week, in the future that you're not expected to lead, and take on that responsibility and lead. If this message resonated with you, share it. Not for me, for someone you know is already leading quietly and needs to be reminded that they're not invisible. Follow Off-Script Leadership, because this is just the beginning. In episode 2, we're diving into the hardest leadership assignment out there, leading yourself. This is Off-Script Leadership. Thanks for showing up.